In 1920, I was able to vote because I'm a female. However, from 1870 to 1965, there was a period of discrimination and refusal to let people vote. However, thanks to the 15th Amendment, it said the US or any state on account of race and color cannot deny a citizen to vote. With elections coming up, and us, I'm assuming, if we have not already voted, we're coming of age to vote, it's important to understand this responsibility that we have been granted. I'll be voting for the first time this coming election, and with this responsibility, I figured it's important to understand just how crucial or heavy or important this responsibility is, so I researched the topic. In the next couple of minutes, I'll discuss how the Electoral College works, because it's important to understand how your vote is processed, and then second, how crucial it is to vote, because your vote does hold major importance. I hear so often how the Electoral College holds dominance or is louder than your vote, or you shouldn't even vote because the Electoral College just won't even consider it. However, David Walbert writes about this topic in Does My Vote Count? For Learn NC, in which he states the 538 electors that we have been voted in by their state's political stance's majority. So let me explain. Each elector that you have for that state is voted in by the majority. So the majority holds that political stance and the same principles and beliefs for the majority of the state, and your electors are then representations of that. Nonetheless, it is not mandatory for them to go with the majority, however they are voted in with the same principles. So, Sean McCluey writes a 2015 article, If anyone ever tells you their vote doesn't matter, show them this. So I'm gonna show you guys. Okay, the majority of votes in past studies have revealed the voices that have been heard are of older Caucasian males, which is fine. We wanna hear those voices. However, what that does is it's detrimental for the rest of the population. What you're seeing here is the synopsis of the 2014 midterm elections, in which less than half of the population, at 41.9%, have voted. So let me show you. This bar is of the older, 65 and years older, of the white population, mostly male. And what this does, as you can see, is it kind of speaks louder than those of a different gender, of a different race, of a different economic status, of a different culture. And what that does is those issues within those categories are not heard. So it's crucial for everyone's vote to be heard, so the United States can be represented. You have to contribute to the democratic process. Now that you understand how your vote is processed in the Electoral College and the problems with not voting, I still hear people say how their vote is not heavy or doesn't count. Which brings me to my second point. If the number of people that say they don't want to vote actually voted, I can assure you there would be a huge difference in who we've had as past electors or presidents or senators. In September of 2016, the Campus Election Project wrote about past elections, but they first defined how heavy each person's vote on depending on the state. So what you see here, the weight of a person's vote is dependent on the population size along with the elector size. So as for Alaska, because their population is smaller, your vote is going to weigh 2.50, almost twice as much as California, which is huge. That means you can have an impact with a simple, little amount of votes. And it's all proportionate. So despite California being smaller, technically their population size is just bigger, so technically it still holds the same weight. An example of how big of an impact your one vote can make can be shown in 1981 when Bernie Sanders first ran for mayor. He won by 10 votes. So imagine if those 10 people said, oh, well my vote doesn't matter, I'm not gonna vote. Would Bernie Sanders be a senator? Would he have ran for presidency? Would he be fighting for Amendment 69 or not? Who knows if those people didn't vote, but we know because they did vote, luckily. In 2015, a Mississippi legislative district was tied. You know how they broke this tie? By drawing straws. I don't know about you, but I don't want my legislator to be picked by drawing straws. I want them to be picked because they heard the issues of the people and they can offer resolutions. Turnout rates haven't been this low since 1942. Nina Geffner writes for a fair vote in 2015 about President Obama's solution to this issue, in which he suggests mandatory voting. This isn't a crazy idea. In 26 countries, they already implement this law. However, that would also raise the issue of a rise in uninformed voters, but perhaps the mandatory effect of it would allow us to all get involved and make it mandatory that we do research it. But I don't want it to be mandatory, and I'm pretty sure a lot of us don't want it to be mandatory. It's our duty and it's our responsibility, and we should get involved because we want to get involved, because we want our voices to be heard. Because honestly, guys, like, you hold so much power in your voice, and to not use it, you'd become powerless. So during elections, you always hear the same thing. You're always doubted. You always think, oh, one citizen won't make a difference. But for centuries, we've been fighting for this, and we've made so many differences. Our voice is capable of being a loud echo. As I come to a close, I want you to realize that voting should not just be for this election. Voting should take place on the state and national levels. Voting should not be an indecisive decision. For who you vote, sure, but not the act itself. I discussed how the Electoral College works, how much weight your vote actually does hold, and the future actions that may need to be taken place if we don't take action now. Think of it this way. Voting is like an everyday decision. Like how you guys decided to go to CU. You got up every day, you worked super hard, and now you're here. For centuries, people have been making the same decisions, but only in the sense of getting politically involved, making their voices heard. So let's be the loudest generation and make our ancestors proud as they hand over the megaphone